All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. As I just pull up the things I'm about to talk about, forgot to do it until the last very second, but here we are. So it is the college football edition of Unqualified Analysis, and I am your host, Caleb V. You can follow me on the Twitters at CalebVUA. Outside of that, you can shoot me an email, unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. Both of those are down in the description. You can shoot me a DM, shoot me an email, do whatever you want to do. Just get in contact with me if you feel so. Weird way to put that, but we're just going to keep it on moving from there. Anywho, we have got ourselves a dandy today, folks, because we are about to wrap up the regular season of college football. A whole lot happened over the weekend, and the college football coaching headlines are just pouring in as we speak. Big stuff going on there at the college level. I'm looking specifically at you, Mr. Bill Belichick. That really escalated quickly today. We're going to talk about all that and more. With that said, housekeeping to do at the top of the show as far as the coaching headlines. So we're going to talk about the big one from today as I'm recording this, that being Wednesday. But first and foremost, let me stop edging this Gatorade, and let's just, take a drink and get this thing going. All right. That's good. That's good stuff. Good stuff, if I do say so myself. Anyway, let's just take it game by game here. This will be a shorter episode because it was championship weekend. There's not really a whole lot of games to talk about. Also, not a next week's slate to talk about either. So we're just going to put a pin in that and revisit that thing whenever the college football playoff rolls around here soon. I mean, we got bowl games coming up, I don't know, this weekend. So, I mean, well, maybe not this weekend. I don't know. We'll have to take a look at the bowl schedule here when it's all said and done. It's been greatly diminished by just the playoff and modern college football in general, but still, bowl season is fun. So we'll look at that, all that good stuff. But yeah, in the interest of getting to sleep at a reasonable time tonight, that's difficult for me, but I'm going to try my best. Let's just crack into this thing. So, going chronologically here, we're going on Friday night. So, first and foremost, we had UNLV traveling to Boise State, and they actually did. Was not a neutral site game at all, unless it was pre-selected for Boise State to host that thing. It was at home. It was on the blue turf. Boise had all the advantages in the world, and they took advantage of that, and they just did not look back. Ashton Jeanty goes for 209 yards and a touchdown. He is a Heisman finalist, and Boise State gets the win 21-7. They lock up that playoff spot. I'm actually shocked that Brendan Marion has not gotten more play as a possible offensive coordinator candidate for some of these openings, but hey, is what it is at this point. Looks like UNLV will probably have him for another year, assuming that, the whole head coaching staff and the staff in general stays together over there. I still feel very brightly about his future. Maybe I was just a year or two early on his prospects as an offensive coordinator. I still feel very strongly about him. I think he's going to be a star whenever he does make that transition up into the Power 4 level. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when on that front. So looking forward to that. Hope to see his offense, the go-go offense, continue to progress and be innovative going forward. Obviously, down the stretch of the season, you saw some holes in it. It helps to have a quarterback that you can trust to pass the ball consistently. And unfortunately, Malik Williams has an electric arm, but he's not that consistent passer that you necessarily want to make the go-go offense go, for lack of a better word. So yeah, great season from UNLV though. 10-3. Had a quarterback change where, Matthews, Sluka Doncic, me and many other people forgot about him, I'm entirely sure. But hey, he transfers. Who knows what's going to happen? Malik Williams comes in. It almost looks even better than it did before. UNLV, good program. Really good program. Just had a couple tough games here down the stretch that ultimately sunk their, menial playoff hopes, but hey, it is what it is on that front. Good season from UNLV. Boise State locked themselves into a playoff spot. I think everyone knew that one pretty much immediately. You're not going to drop Boise State after winning their conference championship, and they were already a top 10 team, so they were in. Too late. Well, also, you win a conference championship, you're already in, and you're a top 5 ranked conference championship you're in regardless. So stupid me. Big dumb idiot over here. But still, they're in. Good for them. Tulane went on the road at Army for the American Championship, and they really stumbled in the last 2 weeks. This one was no different. Army got the win 35-14. Darian Mensah did enter the transfer portal, that being Darian Mensah, who is the starting quarterback for Tulane. Fairly certain he entered the transfer portal. I'm going to check in on that when everything's all settled. It's just entirely too crazy. I mean, Mississippi State can't have nice things. Michael Van Buren, fucking Kevin Coleman, other player, Bryce Pollock, I still don't really know how to pronounce his name, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Just a bunch of the only good players that we had. Oh, yeah, Mario Craver, true freshman wide receiver. It's great to be a feeder program for the major programs in the Power Four. Fucking love that. Cool. Anyway, I digress on that front. That's all to say, transfer portal's crazy right now. I could do a whole damn episode just reading off names in the transfer portal right now because it's just that wild. So we're just going to wait for that to settle. I'll tell you about big moves, but right now, got some good pickups for Mississippi State, but outside of that, it's not really like the big commits have not occurred yet. I don't really think a lot of the big entries into the transfer portal have necessarily occurred yet. Got a bunch of them so far, but there's still quite a few that I think may ultimately enter said transfer portal. So something to watch there, but we're putting a pin in that for now. But yeah, that is all to say. I think he's the number 1 quarterback in sorry, looking at my phone here. I think he's the number 1 quarterback in the transfer portal right now, that being Darian Mensah. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. You could probably see Auburn getting in play there. Auburn's got to get somebody, but also Caden Salter, former quarterback at Liberty, the guy that Hugh Freeze recruited him to Liberty. He's in the transfer portal now too. I have a feeling we're going to see a reunion there. But Darian Mensah, very much in play for that as well. So something to keep an eye on. Army finishes the regular season 11-1. Not the regular season, just the season in general. Just finishes it 11-1. We got the Army-Navy game coming up this week. Dandy stuff. So, hey, we're looking forward to that. It's always good to support the troops. That being said, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of Christmas shopping on Saturday because your boy procrastinated. Which reminds me, I do have to text some people and do some reconnaissance. But yeah, that's a me problem. I got fucking Office Secret Santa. I've got the just being regular Santa for my family. I'm not buying all the gifts, but I'm buying gifts for each people. It's just a lot right now. There's a lot of gift giving going on. I'm just waiting for this paycheck towards the end of the week, and then we're just going to hit the ground running from there. Yeah, again, I digress. Wonderful time of the year. Probably won't be watching Army-Navy, unfortunately, because of the other errands I have to run, but always wonderful. Always wonderful. It's a classic. It's a college football tradition, but I'm running on and on that. Let's just keep it moving. So the big one, the Big Ten championship. Penn State went on the road to Oregon, and this was a certified 10 out of 10 banger, baby. This was a really damn good game. Oregon ends up winning in a shootout, 45-37. I think if you're a Penn State fan, once again, you lose a big game, which is less than ideal. But you showed with Katron Allen in specific, 14 carries, 124 yards on the ground. Drew Aller wasn't fantastic, but 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Singleton and Allen both went over 100 yards in this game with fewer than 15 carries. Singleton only had 10 carries. He went for 105. Drew Aller also had 54 yards on 5 carries and a touchdown. As a team, 297 yards, 8.7 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. They're a playoff team no matter what. There was really no drama in this one. Unless Penn State just got blown out of the water, and even then, probably wasn't in the stars for Penn State to drop all the way out of the playoffs. So we knew what was happening here. But I think if you're a Penn State fan, you look at this game and obviously some concern given that Abdul Carter and co. on the Penn State defense got set on fire in a violent fashion with Oregon hanging 45 on them. But they didn't allow a whole lot of rushing yards. 186 is a lot of rushing yards, don't get me wrong. 4.5 yards per carry, though, that's manageable. That's manageable as far as I'm concerned. 2 touchdowns, So they did enough to win the game. Let's not get it twisted here. The real problem, and the one you got to worry about, is Dillon Gabriel threw 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 8.8 yards per attempt. If that's what the Penn State defense looks like against like high-quality quarterbacks, they're going to run into some trouble here when they face off against, even Drew Aller again, Curtis Rourke in the playoffs. My stock has really fallen with Quinn Ewers. I just don't honestly think he's all that good in the grand scheme of things. He's good enough to start at Texas, but we're talking like pro prospect and high quality college football playoff competition. I think Penn State could handle Quinn Ewers is what I'm getting at here. There's a couple quarterbacks in the playoff, though, Dillon Gabriel being one of them, where Penn State does not want to face them. They hope that Oregon plays like an Ohio State or someone. They get knocked off, and then all of a sudden, okay, we're cooking now. We're cooking now because we don't have to play a whole lot of like really good quarterbacks. If you're a Penn State fan, you are hoping that all of the quarterbacks lose right away, pretty much. And then obviously Oregon, you're not getting them in the second round because you got that first round bye. So you're just hoping Oregon loses in the second round. You hope Indiana loses in one of the first 2 rounds. You hope Cade Klubnik loses in one of the first 2 rounds. Or honestly, that'd be the most favorable draw if Clemson finds a way to win in the first week. So play that one by ear, I suppose. But that's the big issue I see for Penn State. I mean, obviously getting 186 hung on you on the ground is less than ideal for sure, but the real problem is that, I mean, Dillon Gabriel and that Oregon offense just went out of their mind. I mean, Tez Johnson was a freak. I mean, 181 yards, 1 touchdown, still 3 other touchdowns between the rest of the receiving corps. Obviously, I mean, Tez Johnson, I think Dillon Gabriel ultimately threw for 183 yards, no sacks, by the way, I don't believe. Threw for 283 yards. 181 of that was Tez Johnson. So, I mean, it's the one guy, but again, you're going to face star receivers in the playoffs. So, a little bit of concern for Penn State. James Franklin still has shown less than an ability to win in these big games. He's been an underdog every time, it's worth noting, but he's proven Vegas accurate on a lot of those projections. So, I don't know. Tyler Warren, if you get consistently good play from Drew Aller, he's just an enigma in my mind. He's going to get drafted probably highly just because of the physical tools. I'm just not sure how good he ultimately is. But you got Tyler Warren, you got those 2 backs, you've got Abdul Carter in that defense, though Abdul Carter was uncharacteristically quiet in this game, and only 1 sack for the Penn State defense. That's the big thing. I know Oregon has a high-quality offensive line, and it's amazing what the organization has done over there as far as building up the talent pipeline on the lines of scrimmage. That's a different story for a different day. But still, with an elite defense like Penn State is supposed to be, you expect more than 1 sack, especially when you have Abdul Carter on your team. It's something that I'm sure they're going to try to address. They still have a real shot of winning the national championship just because it's wide open this year. Outside of Oregon, no one really looks the part for the most part as far as being a national champion. So unless Oregon runs the table, and especially if Oregon loses, it's going to get real interesting. But Penn State's got a puncher's chance if nothing else. So something to keep in mind there. Also, I don't think Penn State got a first-round bye, so that's inaccurate on my part. My bad. Hand up. Dumb boy right here. But we keep it moving from there. Oregon, obviously, number 1 overall seed in the playoff. They got a bye. They don't got to worry about shit at this point. So outside of them, in the SEC, Georgia didn't blow out Texas this time. It did go to overtime, which still one of the dumbest overtimes in all of professional sports, but we'll see. Maybe they'll change it to make it even worse this offseason. Wouldn't that be a fun, pleasant surprise? I digress. Georgia does get the win, though, 22-19. They lock up the 4 seed. The 3 seed, I think it is. Or maybe the 2 seed, actually. No, it's definitely the 2 seed, come to think of it, just because of where it all lines, I suppose. But still, so they lock up the 2 seed, get their second big win of the season over Texas, the only team to beat Texas this year, and they've done it twice. Dominant in the first one, good enough to win in the second one, and Carson Beck went out of this game. Looks like he has a pretty severe elbow injury. I think he's consulting doctors about options, possible surgical options. Like it might be a UCL sort of thing. In college, they're always very cagey about those sorts of details, so it's hard to tell from afar. But it doesn't really look like, if I had to project right now, just based on what we saw from Carson Beck, it doesn't really look like he's going to be available for the playoff. And if he's not available for the playoff, he's gone after this year regardless. He's probably going to be a first-round pick no matter what in this draft, so he's gone for sure. The last memory of him at Georgia will have been Gunnar Stockton going out in overtime. Had to go out for a play. Also, definitely concussed. I saw that dude's eyes roll into the back of his head. He was 100% concussed. So we'll never know if he would have come back in the game, but shouldn't. Definitely shouldn't. But he was out for the last play. Carson Beck, unable to throw the ball. The defense knows exactly what's coming. He takes the snap, hands it off to, I believe it was Etienne. Etienne runs it in. Georgia wins the game. Cool moment. It's a real cool moment, especially assuming that that's the last time that the Georgia faithful see Georgia, or sorry, see Carson Beck as a Georgia Bulldog. That's a pretty cool moment. That's a pretty cool moment, and that does deserve a lot of spotlight because it was kind of awesome. But at the same time, Texas, man, they're in a weird spot right now because if you look at the defense, it's nasty. It's really damn good. It's the front seven is one of the best in all of college football. It's right up there with some of the best in the entire country, I assure you on that. Offensively, offensive line, nasty. Running backs, nasty. Wide receivers, nasty. Quarterback, nasty sometimes. I mean, he's always nasty, that being Quinn Ewers. Sometimes just not nasty in a good way. I mean, he threw for 358 in this game, but 27 of 46, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, kind of just pedestrian numbers if, trending towards bad. And yes, he was playing against Georgia, so that does deserve consideration. But at the same time, man, this is something we see pop up all the time with Quinn Ewers. There's just something, and it's a point that I've heard over and over when talking about Quinn Ewers, but there's just something missing there. Like, I don't know what the missing piece is necessarily, but every ball that Quinn Ewers throws up, I assume it's not going to be completed. That's the main thing for me, is that there are some quarterbacks that when they throw it up, I'm thinking like a Patrick Mahomes, like Josh Allen's getting to that point. In college football, I'd think of like a Cam Ward or a Shedeur Sanders at this point, where when they drop back and they uncork it for a deep ball, you just assume it's going to be a completion. I've never felt that way about Quinn Ewers. There's just something about it where it feels like it's going to fall to the turf whenever he throws it up like that. And he's had some good games, don't get me wrong. We can all agree he's never quite lived up to the 5-star hype. I think he was the highest rated quarterback recruit ever whenever he committed to Ohio State. That's not really panned out that way remotely. He's still going to be a first-round pick. The question is, how high do you take him? And is he really all that good as a prospect? Because I don't necessarily know that he is. And translating that to the playoffs, what we're talking about now, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with the draft talk, but as far as the playoffs go, right now, when you face off against an Oregon or you go up against Georgia again, or Tennessee for that matter, with how good their defense is, are you trusting Quinn Ewers to go out there and get you a win? Because I am not. And that's the real limiting factor for Texas. And you can say go ahead and switch to Arch Manning. I don't know that I've seen a lot from Arch Manning to give me a whole lot of confidence either right now. He's inexperienced. He's green. Maybe he'll be great next year, but right now he's just a backup quarterback who looks a little bit like a backup quarterback when he comes in. A highly talented backup quarterback. Don't get me wrong on that. He can really run. But as far as a passer, he's still inconsistent. I don't know. It's a tough decision. Don't be shocked, though, in the playoffs if you see Texas struggling on offense in the first half of their first game, and then ultimately you see them come back out of halftime and Arch Manning is taken over as the quarterback there. Don't be shocked if that happens, because that's a break glass in case of emergency sort of solution. But Quinn Ewers has shown the possibility that you may need to break that glass because there may be an emergency on the horizon. So something to monitor. It's something we've really monitored all year, but I think especially now when it's you win or you go home and you either get a championship or this season is a failure, frankly, if you're a Texas fan. It's one of those moves that desperate times call for desperate measures. Maybe you don't do this in week 10 necessarily, but in the college football playoff, absolutely a lever that could be pulled, and honestly one that I kind of expect to be pulled when it's all said and done. But that is all to say they can win a national championship. They're right in that clump of teams that's good enough to win a national championship. It hasn't really looked the part for all of the year, basically. But they're going to need some help along the way. And honestly, the more I look at this, the more it feels like if Oregon takes care of business, they're not going to walk to a championship, but they're going to win the national championship. They're clearly the best team in the country. Texas, if they get hot, and if Arch Manning ultimately comes in and is better as a passer than I expect, they could give them a run for their money. They're just one of those teams. Georgia is also one of those teams. They lock up that first round bye. Gunnar Stockton is obviously the limiting factor. He went 12 of 16, but for 71 yards in this game. Not good at all. Georgia offense in general, not efficient in this one. They did not have a very good game on offense. Their leading receiver went for 41 yards, no touchdowns. Georgia didn't throw a touchdown in this game, and part of that is Mike Bobo, which, would you look at that? A guy named Drew Bobo, a offensive lineman, threw a pass in this game. Wonder if there's any relation. Didn't look it up, but Maybe. Could be interesting there. I don't like the offense, but also Carson Beck wasn't doing him any favors. Who's to say? Maybe with like a couple weeks of run-up time, maybe Gunnar Stockton comes in and looks a little bit better. He didn't in this one. Maybe looked slightly better from a completion percentage standpoint, but, I mean, it's 71 yards versus 56 for Carson Beck. So it's not dazzling numbers. He also threw an interception as well. So obviously the quarterback is the limiting factor here. It's been that way the whole season, essentially. But also, I mean, I don't think it'll be a factor at this point just because Georgia, you don't have to get up for these games. If you don't get up for these games, you might as well quit football because this is what it's all about from this point on. But at times they have looked lackadaisical on both sides of the football in ways that you haven't seen from a Kirby Smart team before. So, again, they're also in that clump of teams where can they win a national championship? Yes. They're going to have some help along the way. And they're going to have to get hot at the right time. Should be a fun playoff. I mean, assuming Oregon doesn't run away with the thing, the rest of the playoffs should be fun, if nothing else. So, hey, these two teams, obviously, we knew they were locked in. There's really only one playoff spot that was of dispute here, and we had some drama around it, okay? So let's just get to it right now. Clemson went on, well, not on the road. It went to the ACC championship there in Charlotte, I believe it is. Faced off against SMU. Obviously, SMU favored. We bet on SMU. We lost money, unfortunately. But ultimately, not only did we lose money, SMU lost the game. Clemson won 34-31. Kevin Jennings, the quarterback for SMU, did go for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ultimately, not enough. Brian Wesco Jr., the true freshman phenom at wide receiver for Clemson, went for 143, 2 touchdowns. Jake Brenningstool, he had himself 2 touchdowns in the game, but as usual, as the tight ends generally go in college football, not huge yardage numbers. You got to feel encouraged with what you saw from the SMU run defense, only holding the Clemson Tigers to 2 yards per carry, 64 yards total. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good if I do say so myself. A crazy amount of plays in this game. It's amazing how many plays they run in college football. I mean, 86 for SMU. What is that? What is that right there? 73 for Clemson. Just crazy pace that they have in these college games. It's real fun in college football. I digress on that front. So with this game, Clemson steals a bit. They were not ranked inside the top 12 whenever they won this game. All of a sudden, you got an interesting little conundrum on your hands, because with that stolen bid, Alabama's sitting there at I can't remember if they're 12 or 11. I think they are 11. But we knew that they were going to steal a bid, or someone was going to steal a bid when it was all said and done. We just thought it was probably going to be the Big 12. Alas, that is not the case. So, okay. Either way, we're in an interesting situation discussing between SMU and Alabama. 3-loss Alabama, stronger resume, more losses. SMU went to a conference championship game. We'll talk about it here at the end when we go over the college football playoff rankings. You already know how it went. The committee was really in a no-win situation there. So we're going to table that for now in the discussion. Clemson, though, I mean, hey, little golf clap for you for making the playoff. I expect them to lose in the first round. I don't remember exactly what their matchup is. It's against Texas. I'll just spoil that one right now. So I assume, and I know that Texas is going on the road here, but Clemson's going on the road to Texas. My bad. So no worries there whatsoever. But Clemson, you're going up against Texas. I expect Texas to do something fairly similar to what Georgia did to Clemson in week 1. I mean, hey, again, little tiny golf clap for getting there, but it's just beating a dead horse with the Clemson Tigers. I saw they were, I believe, top 5 NIL collective in total dollars, like 15 point some million, at least top 10 in total dollars. And I replied, they ain't doing shit with that money, and I know it because, maybe they keep players in town with that money. I'm sure there's not a whole lot of people from Clemson entering the transfer portal because of money. That's for damn sure. So that's probably where a vast majority of that money is going. But they ain't dipping into the transfer portal. They haven't done it. They aren't going to do it. And, hey, until that changes, you already know the line on Clemson. They could be a national title contender if they use the tools that every other competitor that they have in front of them is using. Until that happens, they'll be right here, just on the cusp of the playoffs, maybe steal a bid every now and again. Hey, maybe get an at-large bid. Maybe you're a top 10 team. Probably not going to be top 5. Probably not going to be a real national title contender until you get serious about NIL and transfer portal. You might hate it, but that's the reality. If you don't adapt with the times, the game's going to leave you behind. So I've said my piece. Make your decision, Dabo. That's all I'm saying. It would be kind of hilarious if he made a run all the way to the national title, or Clemson made a run all the way to the national title, though. I do have to admit that. Look, funny is funny, man. Even if I don't like it, it's funny. I'm not going to look forward to those Dabo Swinney press conferences because, man, that dude makes my butt itch like no one else on this planet, man. And if you know the saying, you understand the feeling. But man, that dude just chaps my ass. Something about his smug little wry smile in those press conferences, talking about all this we built in the name, image, and likeness of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, all that good stuff. Hey, be a religious man all you want. Don't be a smug asshole about it, okay? That's what Dabo is. So I went off on a little tangent there. You know what you need to do, Dabo. Are you going to do it? Probably not. So Clemson's just going to be here. The choice is yours, Dabo. The choice is yours. I just know which way you're going to go, unfortunately. Is what it is. Is what it is on that front. Okay, so last conference championship game that was of note or for any sort of playoff implications was Iowa State at Arizona State. And this one, we'll keep it brief because this one was never, it was a game for the first quarter. Never a game after the first quarter, though. Arizona State ran away with this game. They grabbed Iowa State by the neck and just wrung them dry, essentially. It was a bludgeoning. 45-19, the final score. Cam Scatterbo went for 170 yards on 16 carries, 2 touchdowns. He's an absolute animal, absolute freak. Sam Levitt, hey, 12 of 17. Didn't need to pass the ball a whole lot. 219 yards, 3 touchdowns on the game. He's playing exceptional football. Kenny Dillingham's offense is fully installed, and it looks exactly like it did at Oregon right now. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Even with their number one receiver out, it's just plug and play. You thought they were just leaning on their best players because they're exceptional talents and that's what you do. No, that's just the way Kenny Dillingham runs his offense. We got our best players. We're just going to get the ball to them as much as humanly possible. They get the ball to Scattaboo as much as possible. They get the ball to whatever wide receiver is number one as much as possible, and they score a shit ton of points. They scored 45 points in 3 quarters. They just let off the gas in the fourth. It was 45-10. They didn't need to do a damn thing after that third quarter, and they didn't. Arizona State, not only did they get themselves a playoff spot, they got themselves a first-round bye on the strength of this win here. So it's hey, I don't really think Arizona State is a national title contender. They could absolutely steal a game in the playoffs when it's all said and done. So they're a team to watch at least in the first round. I think they're probably going to run into an Oregon or someone like that, and unfortunately just get run off the football field. You hope it's a good game. I don't see them getting to the semifinals, let's just say, in the college football playoff. I really hope they do, though, because I love Kenny Dillingham. That's a fun football team. That's a classic Big 12 football team right there, man. Defense is meh to not that great. Offense is spectacular. They're newly branded Big 12 team, but they're holding up the brand nicely, and I love to see it. Love to see it. Iowa State, you gave it your best effort, but this was a pretty disappointing season. Rocco Becht was, inconsistent at times, just straight up not good. He took a big step back this year in his development. I trust that coaching staff there to get him together there and kind of move forward from this next year. And I expect Iowa State to still be pretty damn good next year. But it just wasn't meant to be this year, unfortunately. If Rocco Becht had played better, this whole season might have gone a little bit differently. We might be talking about an undefeated Iowa State team on the way to the college football playoff, but it's not what happened, unfortunately. And, hey, you got to take a look in the mirror. You got to evaluate what's going on in the program. You got to make changes accordingly. And, they're a developmental program, easy for me to say. So I expect growth in years to come, but I also expected growth this year from Rocco Becht. So just a little disappointed. That's all. Just a little bit disappointed, but Arizona State locked up their spots. So with that, that's pretty much all we had to go over for championship week. A couple things I want to hit on. First and foremost, the Lisan Al-Gaib, Muad'Dib himself, Timothy Chalamet. That dude knows ball, man. I know for a fact he had some stats and info, run some numbers for him so he could just regurgitate him on live TV. Timothy knows ball, man. I don't think he actually knows about Ohio or Miami of Ohio. Shout out, 2 schools that are fairly close to me. But I'll tell you what, he knows college football. He was saying, okay, I know, Nick Saban, you got teams prepared better than anyone else in these spots. He was dropping knowledge. Legitimately solid college football opinions, well-reasoned college football opinions. Timmy knows ball. I already like Timothy Chalamet because Dune kicks ass, and he's just a really good actor. But he might be my favorite now. He might be 1-1 because Timmy knows ball. That's the main thing. Awesome appearance on College Game Day. Pink coat and all, just spitting fire on national television. Pat McAfee was shocked. The utter look of shock on his face when Timmy started just spouting off stats. Just classic. It's the only part of Game Day I watched, honestly, but still, classic. Love Timmy. Timmy's my new favorite actor in Hollywood right now. A little bit of an odd dude, but every actor is, man. Come on. I love that little twink right there. I love that guy. I use it in affection terminology, but you probably won't take it that way. You'll never hear this anyways. It's okay. I love you, Timothy Chalamet. That's the main thing. Also, Heisman finalists. We have got, so obviously Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward also in there as well. And then rounding it out, we have got Dylan Gabriel. Those are your 4 Heisman finalists. It's a 2-man race. We all know it. It usually comes down to a 2-man race when it gets to this point in the season. At the end of the year, I legitimately have no idea who wins this. There's the people's champion, at least Twitter's champion, is Ashton Genty. But even then, you get a plenty amount of discourse as to why Travis Hunter is the Heisman. Honestly, if I had a vote, I'd just be staring at that little piece of paper or email, whatever it happens to be, and just thinking, what the fuck do I do? I suppose my default thing is just to go with Travis Hunter because he's been very good to elite on both sides of the ball. 1,000-yard receiver, has 4 interceptions on the year. He's their number 1 corner at Colorado. A top 5 pick for sure. Probably top 2 pick when it's all said and done. Top 3 or 4 at the very worst, I would say. He's a really damn good prospect. So doing that at the Power 4 level, I guess I give that the benefit of the doubt. That would be my lean. But man, Ashton Jeanty had himself one hell of a season. And with all these extra games, and they count the stats weird in college football. So they count all these games as part of the total season collective. Assuming that they win in the first round, or if Ashton Jeanty goes off in the first round, he's within spitting distance of Barry Sanders' rushing record, and he could very easily get there, especially if he wins a game in the college football playoff. I'd say signed, sealed, delivered. He's probably breaking the single-season rushing record, obviously with an asterisk because he'll have played 15 games at that point. But still, something to keep in mind there. I have no idea. No idea who's going to win that Heisman. Again, lean to Travis Hunter, but could very easily see it going either way. It's an exciting thing, and I'll be locked in on that Heisman ceremony. You be rested assured of that. Again, weird way to say that, but I digress on that front. Any hoozles outside of that, we got the week in the books. Everything is settled at this point. Only thing left to do, Selection Sunday, my friends. So, what do we have here? What do we have here? So, going from the bottom, moving our way up, we have got college football playoff rankings. Memphis slotting in there at 25. UNLV staying in the top 25. Good season at 10-3. They're at 24. Colorado is at 23. Army at 22. Syracuse, welcome to the club there. Another week in a row there at 21. Didn't play a game, so that makes sense. Illinois at 20. Missouri refused to die all season. They end the season ranked. They were 9-3. They're 19. Iowa State holds pat there at number 18. BYU at number 17. Clemson at 16. They stole that bid. Keep that in mind. South Carolina at 15. Ole Miss at 14. Then, the last one before we get into the playoff rankings here, Miami slots in at 13, officially out of the playoff. That was expected. Ole Miss, Miami, and South Carolina for that matter, lump them in there too. Didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of making it. That's the bottom line. They did not have a chance of making the playoff at this point. They were going to bitch about it all they want. They certainly bitched about it after the playoff committee released their final rankings, but that just wasn't going to happen. Come on. It just wasn't going to happen when it was all said and done. So, with that said, let's transition here to the college football playoff. The field is as follows. So, we'll start off, obviously, 4 conference champions. Oregon was the 1 seed, Arizona State the 4 seed, Georgia the 2 seed, and Boise State slots in there at number 3. No bids stolen in the top 4 conference championships. Obviously, Clemson slotting in at the 12 seed here. We all knew that. They are still ranked 16. So, yeah, they stole a bid. So it comes down to this. We got 4 first-round matchups. The higher seed will host the lower seed, and it will be electric. So I am looking forward to that. Rinky-dink playoff, but I'll tell you what, good TV product I think is coming. So I'm looking forward to it. December game in what is it? In Columbus. Hour down the road for me. I couldn't think of the town's name. My bad. Town, it's a city. It's the largest city in all of Ohio, but I digress again. December game in Ohio. That's going to be brutally cold. That's living, like I said, about an hour from Columbus. I can tell you right now, pretty fucking cold right now. Pretty fucking cold. I had to wear 2 jackets outside today, walking my dog this afternoon because it's so damn cold. And we're in 2 jacket season right now. 2 jackets, gloves. You're probably good with that, but it's cold as shit here right now. And Interested to see how Tennessee handles those elements. They're built to do it, though. Ohio State is hosting Tennessee. I think that's probably the most dandy of a matchup there in the first round, but that's not the only one, of course. We got 3 more. Obviously, talked about Texas versus Clemson. I expect Texas to win that one comfortably. And then, third matchup, we have got Notre Dame hosting Indiana. The battle for Indiana. The other banger, I would say, in this first round of matchups, at least how it looks on paper. Big-time clash of styles. Indiana has only played one good team in Ohio State, and Ohio State ran them off the field. Notre Dame, kind of a similar problem, but they've acquitted themselves a little bit better. We're going to be looking at that one and saying, oh boy, that's a dandy. That is an absolute juicy meet the ball right there. I'm looking forward to that one, I think, the most out of all of these. Obviously looking forward to Ohio State, Tennessee in the first round, but Notre Dame, Indiana, that's a big litmus test for both of those teams. And then I think we can conceivably come out of that one saying, if it's a close game, I don't think we learn anything about either of these teams, but it's going to be a fun matchup, I think. I think it's either going to be a Notre Dame blowout or I mean, honestly, I could see either team blowing either team out. I could see either team winning. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun game. I hope it's a high-scoring game, but we'll see on that front. That's going to be a banger. And then, of course, Penn State slots into that 6th seed, and it comes down to that one final at-large bid. The number 11 team, because a bid was stolen. If a bid was not stolen, hey, you might have ultimately seen a team like Alabama slotting in there at that 11 seed. But with SMU losing, interesting decision on that college football committee's hands. So either on one hand, you pick SMU in the college football playoff, and the Big Ten and the SEC are pissed. Mainly just the SEC is pissed. And those are the powers that be in college football right now. They run things. The Big Ten and the SEC run things. They hold all the power. They know they hold all the power, and they've continuously attempted to bend the college football playoff committee over the proverbial barrel. Time and time again, you can go all the way back to the 14 playoff for that one. They know they run this thing, and they act like it. I mean, so that was one thing. You're pissing off the powers that be if you bring in SMU. On the other hand, if you include Alabama, after saying that teams were not going to be punished for making conference championship games, and then you put in Alabama at that spot, then you get into a situation where teams that go to a conference championship game say, why would I even play this game? Rhett Lashlee explicitly said it. Like, if we lose this game and then we ultimately don't make the college football playoff, why would we ever play in a conference championship game again? So if you choose Alabama there, I think you pretty irreparably harm the value that teams place on conference championship games. So you're in an impossible situation is what I'm laying out there. Ultimately, I think the committee ultimately chooses the lesser of two evils. They put SMU in there over Alabama. I don't know if there was any one right decision on this one, but they choose SMU over Alabama. Don't get me wrong. I think Alabama is a better football team than SMU, just flat out. They played in a better conference, so they lost more games, but Alabama's a better team than SMU. SMU was the more deserving team, and they've said in the past, oh, it's not in our lexicon. Bullshit. Whatever is in your lexicon at the time, you're just going to roll with it, basically, and you're going to justify whatever your decisions are. So you can pipe down over their college football playoff committee. The adults are talking right now. But as far as most deserving, in this case, it was the lesser of two evils because, yes, the SEC is going to be pissed. You saw Ole Miss, Alabama specifically, I mean Lane Kiffin in specific, and Greg Byrne, the AD at Alabama, using this as a flimsy excuse to say, why would we ever schedule a tough out-of-conference game again? Notably, both Alabama and Ole Miss lost to teams in their conference 3 times. For Alabama, it was, let me see if I remember this. So they lose to Vandy. I think they lost to Ole Miss, actually, I want to say. Then they lost to Tennessee. I think those are the 3 losses. And then Ole Miss loses to Kentucky, loses to Florida, and we can't just gloss past that Kentucky loss. That's one of the worst losses of any of the teams that were in contention for the college football playoff. I think they lost to Kentucky at home, too. An embarrassing loss. The only conference win that Kentucky had all year. So that should tell you how embarrassing of a loss it is. And there's one more loss in there. They beat Georgia for sure, but there's one more loss in there that I can't quite place off the top of my head. I apologize on that front. But yeah, so they lost all their games in conference, but we're going to use this as a little flimsy excuse to say, oh man, now I'm never going to schedule a hard non-conference game because they've shown that they're not going to value strength of schedule. Cry me a fucking river. Here's the thing with this. I get it. You think you need an excuse, something to justify to the public why you won't schedule hard out of conference games. Listen, grow a set of balls, and we know you don't want to fucking play hard out of conference games. We know that's been a thing for a long time, especially with the college football playoff being instituted. You know you haven't wanted to do this. If you want to stop playing hard non-conference games, just fucking do it. Spare me all the bullshit excuses, all of this, oh, if the committee's not going to honor strength of schedule, we're not going to play hard opponents. You already fucking weren't. So cry me a goddamn river. Make up your mind one way or the other. Don't use this decision by the College Football Playoff Committee as your flimsy justification. We all know you don't want to play these games in the first place. Don't bullshit us. We're not fucking stupid. And hey, maybe that works on the fans. For the general college football fan, no. I'm not falling for that bullshit there. We know what the score is here. Don't bullshit us. Just shoot us straight. Just say, look, we think we don't want to, when we play in such a hard conference, we don't want to play hard out of conference games. Okay, I don't agree with that, but I'd respect it more if you just came out and say exactly what your motivations are, because I know this is fucking bullshit. We all can see through the little ruse there, because it's the most poorly hidden ruse of all time, essentially. Just spare me the bullshit. If you're going to stop playing the games, stop playing them, but don't give me some bullshit excuse as to why you're not playing them. That's the main thing in my mind. So, with that said, that is your college football playoff right there, though. And all these other teams, they can cry me a river. Don't really care. If you're quibbling about the number 12 seed in the college football playoff, really the 11 seed, I guess, if you're talking about that SMU spot, I got news for you. You're probably not good enough to win a national championship anyways. That's the big problem I've always had with the 12-team playoff, is that you're not going to convince me that anyone outside of, say, the top 6 to 8 teams in a given year has a real shot of winning the national championship. You might have a puncher's chance, maybe. Puncher's chance ain't going to cut it for the most part. You weren't good enough to win a national championship if you were sitting at that spot. So I don't feel any sympathy for Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina whatsoever, man. If you were good enough to make the college football playoff, you would have only lost 2 games and you'd be in the college football playoff. You weren't good enough. Is what it is. There's not nearly as much of drama for me around that last at-large bid for the 12-team playoff as there is for the 4-team playoff. There's just not, because conceivably those teams in contention for the 4th spot could ultimately win a national championship still. They're still got good enough teams to be top 5, top 6. They're good enough to win a national championship in that situation. 11, 12, you're just not going to convince me of it. You're not going to convince me of it. So, stick a fork in that. Let's take a little trip through bowl season, shall we? Let's just take a look at what we got coming up on the schedule. I mean, take a look at the time, too. 49 minutes. We're making real good time on this one. Real good time. This is going to be a nice and short one, as I was hoping for. Yeah, Bill Belichick, man. Bill Belichick is the head coach. Did I ever get to those headlines, by the way? I don't think I did. That's a wild thing I did. We're going to pause right there. That's wild what I did. I said I was going to talk about head coaching headlines, and I just didn't fucking do it. That's, wow. I apologize. I apologize for that. So with that said, let's get into it right now. I got to rectify that right this second. So No shocker. Well, actually, kind of a shocker here. Bill Belichick, actually, as I am speaking into this microphone, is officially being announced as the new head coach of the University of North Carolina. And I thought, honestly, that this was not going to happen because there were reports circulating throughout the course of the last week since this kind of bubbled to the surface that this was a possibility, and especially over the course of the last couple of days, that Bill Belichick submitted roughly like a 400-page sort of blueprints for what he wants the North Carolina program to look like. And honestly, seemed like a great organizational plan. He wants to hire a GM. He wants better facilities. Wants kind of a pro pipeline, essentially. He wants a pro program or pro organization at a college football program is what he wants. All the ideas were very, very, solid ideas. I think the right ideas, quite frankly. So he has that going for him. But at the same time, it's a huge financial commitment. Giant financial commitment to go in and overhaul all that stuff, hire these new people that you need in modern college football. All the stuff that he said is stuff that you need and a little bit more to win games at the national level. If he can get all that stuff implemented, if they give him time and he has that structure in place, there's a possibility this thing goes well. But ultimately, the main thing I was getting at there is I wasn't sure it was going to happen because we were hearing that there was pushback from the donors, a little bit of dissension among the board of trustees that were ultimately going to make that decision. But then today, got the news down the pipeline, apparently. And by the way, there was, to my knowledge, no negotiating on that deal because it was explicitly stated in a lot of media reports that was Bill Belichick's proposal. It was not up for negotiation. Either you take it or he's not going to be your head coach. And lo and behold, they took it. So here we are. Bill Belichick takes a massive pay cut, by the way, to go be the UNC head coach. 3 years, $30 million, $10 million a year as a pay cut. What a life to live. You'd love to see that for sure. Wish that was my life. But yeah, he's going to North Carolina. And obviously the biggest question for me, and I think the biggest question in general when it comes to Bill Belichick, we know as far as the X's and O's, as far as the development, going to be rock solid. I think they're going to be a really solid schematic developmental program because Bill Belichick, I think he has the right mindset of development. Getting players that are raw and then making them much better when they leave and getting them prepared to play in the pros. He stated that explicitly on his Hit on the McAfee show a couple days ago. But the main question I have, and I think everyone has looking at this, is you got a pro coach for 30-some years, essentially, if you include all his assistant jobs and head coaching jobs as well. Pro coach for 30 years, 70-some years old, decides to try his hand at college football. That could come with some hiccups. The biggest one I think in my mind is the recruiting. Now, the biggest thing with recruiting is putting together the right staff. Now, you do need to have a bit more of a charismatic head coach, and we'll see how good Bill Belichick is in the room. I think he's a good enough talker after seeing him on TV that I think he can convince some kids to come play for him. The main thing that's going to win you some recruiting battles, though, is the assistants. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, the position coaches, the recruiting coordinators in general. Those people have to be, especially with a program like North Carolina, laser focused on the state of North Carolina because there's a whole lot of talent in the North Carolina area. And really just that whole, Virginia, a little bit over there in East Tennessee. Georgia's a stone's throw away. Alabama's not too far away from you. You're in a nice regional spot to where if you get a good staff focused on that region, you could make some good headway. And again, the recruiting is much more about the staff than it is the head coach. That's something that's been proven to me multiple times over the course of the last several years, and I'm just taking that lesson to heart at this point. I'm more interested in the staff hires when it comes to recruiting for Bill Belichick than I am in Bill Belichick himself. If you put together a good staff, you could probably get yourself some top 25 recruiting classes on a consistent basis. you start getting things rolling, maybe you start flirting with the top 10. Not out of the question. So I'm fascinated to see how this thing goes to Bill Belichick. If I had to guess, year one's probably not going to look pretty. They're losing a lot of players first off, and they already weren't very good this last year. Got to overhaul a lot of things in the organization. It's going to be a multi-year process. Second year, you hope to see some improvement is the main thing, but I still don't think it's going to be very good. Year 3 under Bill Belichick, with that infrastructure in place by that point, obviously facilities pending at that point, I would imagine still. But if he can pull it all together in year 3 and builds the organization in the vision he wants, I mean, don't be shocked if Bill Belichick is a success at North Carolina, because the plans that he has to build up that organization are solid. They're rock solid, just based on the highlights that I've heard. It's just a matter of, can you implement them, and can you translate your game to the college coaching ranks? Can you hire an offensive coordinator? Are you just going to get Josh McDaniels again, or are you going to swing for the fences with someone in the college football ranks? A lot of questions. I'm interested to see. I'm going to be watching that thing real closely. How does the staff come together over the course of the next coming days? How does the recruiting classes come together? How does it look on the football field? Is it looking good on offense? Is it looking good on defense? I just blanketly assume at some point it's going to look fantastic on defense. It's Bill fucking Belichick at the end of the day. Especially facing off against college offenses. That dude is going to eat teams alive. Alive, I say. This isn't a Wink Martindale situation where he just causes a bunch of havoc. Bill Belichick's a fucking genius. I'd say, pound for pound, the best defensive mind in the history of football. And you've got him facing off against repetitive college offenses that do the same things over and over again. I mean, as far as a film study perspective is concerned, this is going to be like shooting fish in a barrel for Bill Belichick. Just a matter of, can he pull the talent thing together? If he can get talent in the building, I think this could be a successful trip to the college football ranks for Bill Belichick. It's just a matter of, can he do it? And that's the thing I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be fascinated. Absolutely fascinated to see how that develops going forward. I already talked about Michael Van Buren, Mississippi State quarterback, true freshman stud, going into the transfer portal. Kevin Coleman's in the transfer portal. Kamario Taylor's in the transfer portal. Life is pain. Life is pain. Sorry. Mario Craver. Kamario Taylor is a quarterback we got coming in. I'll talk about him in just a second. Yeah, Mario Craver, monster as a true freshman wide receiver. The best of the bunch that we had coming in last year. He's in the transfer portal. Ultimately, look for Alabama on that one. He was, I think he was committed to Alabama initially. Was an Alabama prospect. Alabama has some holes at receiver. You can put together the dots there. I hate this era of college football, man. It feels like shit to be a feeder program for the big boys out there. But keep building the program, Leb. Keep building the program. I'm not hearing great things about the athletic administration at Mississippi State right now. But yeah. I just got depressed. I apologize. But yeah, we're just going to end it off here. One more big coaching headline, and I'll repeat the refrain that I had with Scott Frost going back to UCF. Reunited, and it feels so good. Rich Rod is back at WVU, folks. I repeat, Rich Rod is back at the University of West Virginia with the Mountaineers at his alma mater. 17 years after leaving his alma mater to go take the head coaching job at Michigan. He is back. He is the head coach at West Virginia once more, and all is right in the universe. I love this. I don't know if it's going to work out. I'm not here to rain on anyone's parade, so we'll leave that to the side. I hope it works out, though, is the main thing. Big time nostalgia pickup. I'm not sure there was a whole lot of better options for him, frankly. But this will get the fan base excited. And Rich Rod has shown an ability to win in a way at West Virginia that no one else has really shown. And it's the place that he was at his very, very best. Now, things have changed in the last 17 years. Don't get me wrong. A lot has changed in the last 17 years. I mean, we elected a black president in the time that he was away from West Virginia. Then we elected Trump elected a senile old man to replace Trump, and then we re-elected Trump after that when he himself was becoming a senile old man. That has all occurred since Rich Rod has left West Virginia last time. So a lot has changed. There's no guarantee that this is going to work. From a vibes perspective, though, you can't do a whole lot better than this, and he can sell the glory days to incoming recruits. I hope West Virginia comes back, man. Rich Rod's still a solid coach, especially in his little rehab stints over the last couple of years, specifically at, I think, Jacksonville State is where he was. He's had some solid seasons there. He might be kind of bringing it together a little bit in this modern college football. I really hope it works. It's a feel-good story, though, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to feel good, especially after Mississippi State continues to make me question everything in my life. And on that awesome note, let's end this thing off with some picks, shall we? We have got 3 more in the NFL ranks. Obviously, NFL, only thing really going on this week. Oh, fuck. Sorry about that. I keep... Scatterbrain son of a bitch, Caleb. Okay, so let's just do a quick little run through of bowl season. See if we got some highlights. So we're starting off already here. This Saturday, actually. Yes, that's when bowl starts. Bowl start this Saturday. We got a pretty good matchup here in the group of 5 FCS. I don't really know where Jackson State and South Carolina State fall in this thing, but 11-2 Jackson State playing 9-2 South Carolina State in the Cricket Celebration Bowl. That should be fun. Jacksonville State favored by 1. That could be a fun game. Outside of that, we got Memphis playing West Virginia in the the bowl names always make me laugh. The Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. They're on next Tuesday. Wednesday, we got UNLV playing against Cal in the Art of Sport LA Bowl. Okay. JMU's playing Western Kentucky on that day as well in the Boca Raton Bowl. At least that one's got a normal name. Outside of that, the team that Rich Rod left, Jacksonville State, is playing against Ohio in the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. Just new and more obscure sponsors each year for these bowl games. It's astounding to me. Also, we got Tulane facing off against Florida in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Florida's favored by 14 in that one too, and I think that's a pretty good read on the situation. Florida with Lagway is playing good football. They're going to be a problem next year, I think. And then all of a sudden, Friday the 20th, we got the college football playoff to end things off on that night. The night game is going to be a night game in South Bend, Indiana, with the Indiana Hoosiers taking on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame favored by 7.5. My heart wants me to take Indiana on that one, but I digress. And then Saturday we got the full college football playoff going on. We got SMU at Penn State. Penn State favored by 9 in that one. Clemson at Texas, or not at Texas, but you get it. Clemson playing, yes, at Texas. Sorry about that. They're at Texas. That one's on TNT, actually. SMU, Penn State, and Clemson, Texas are both on TNT and on Max. So there you go. Texas is favored by 11. I'd still probably take them, frankly. And then you round off the night with a night game in Columbus, Ohio. That's going to be so cold. Tennessee at Ohio State. Over-under's 47.5, and I'd still probably lean the under. I think that one's going to be a rock fight. That's going to be some real Big Ten football. And Tennessee, 7.5 point dog. I'd probably take Tennessee in that spot. I don't know if they're going to win. I think they're going to keep it close, though, I would say. And then outside of that, what else we got going forward here? Bowl season has just been gutted. This is sad. This is real sad stuff. Oklahoma's playing Navy in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Navy's destined to win that game just based on the Armed Forces Bowl in general. So that my lean is Navy at the plus 8.5 on that. Man, my brain is all over the place. I just keep remembering things that I forgot. So we're going to hit on one more thing before we head out of here after I get through this bowl preview. We got time. It's all good. Texas Tech's playing Arkansas in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. We got Georgia Tech playing Vanderbilt in the Birmingham Bowl. Syracuse playing Washington State in the DirecTV, hey, shout out, still alive, Holiday Bowl. Syracuse favored by 7.5 in that one. Over is at 61.5, by the way, and I think we're probably going to take the over on that. But don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. Might have to lock that in ASAP, but we'll circle back around to it. Texas A&M is playing USC in the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. Who doesn't love the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl? Who among us? So they're playing in that game. Texas A&M favored by 3. Lean to Texas A&M right there because they've got a full complement of players from what I understand. Outside of the rushers, they did lose Nick Scorton and one other projected first-round pick, so that's probably going to hurt. But still, sneaky lean to Texas A&M on that one. UConn is playing UNC in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl over there at Fenway Park. Boston College and Nebraska are playing in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, baby, the cream of the crop, the absolute cream of the crop. Then we're getting into some of the good games now. We got Iowa State playing Miami in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Oh, buddy, oh, boy, oh, pal, we got the Pop-Tarts Bowl back, and we got multiple live Pop-Tart mascots that are vying for a chance to be cooked and eaten in a toaster. God, I love college football, man. God, I love bowl season, and goddamn do I love the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Miami's favored by 4 in that game. Don't give a shit. Well, actually, Cam Ward's definitely not playing in this game, so I was just going to blindly bet the over. But you're probably not going to have Cam Ward or Xavier Restrepo for that matter, so I changed my mind. No auto bet on the over there. But still, should be a good matchup. Miami of Ohio is playing Colorado State in the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. Love that running bit of just weird sponsorships of that one. It was the Barstool Arizona Bowl the last couple of years. Now it's the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. Miami of Ohio is favored by 3 in that game, by the way. What else we got? BYU is playing Colorado in the Valero Alamo Bowl. Classic Big 12 conference matchup there. Just a rematch in the postseason. And Colorado's favored by 3. I'm probably taking Colorado in that one, especially if everyone holds true to their word. And Shedeur and Travis Hunter are playing in the bowl game. Yep, give me Colorado in that one, but table that discussion for now. We got Marshall playing Army in the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Army favored by 15. Kind of a sneaky lean to Marshall, but I think Marshall's had a couple of transfers, so maybe not on that one. Bowl season's interesting, quite interesting. Iowa's playing Missouri in the Trans-Perfect Music Bowl, not Trans-Pacific. It's Trans-Perfect, whatever that company is. The Music City Bowl, and I assume beautiful Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Missouri's favored by 3. I want Iowa to win that game so damn bad. I want them to win so damn bad. Just give me this, Iowa. Please just give me this. Just let Caleb Johnson run wild on them, brother. Alabama's playing Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Shout out to the ReliaQuest Bowl. We have got Louisville and Washington in the Tony the Tiger's Sun Bowl. Louisville favored by 2.5 in that one, by the way. South Carolina's playing Illinois. South Carolina favored by 9.5. Lean to South Carolina on that one. If for no other reason than the quarterback situation there, Lenora Sellers is a stud. Sneaky, interesting matchup here with, by the way, they're in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Confusingly, not the Cheez-It Bowl, the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Okay. South Carolina and Illinois are playing in, and Baylor and LSU are facing off in the Kinder's Texas Bowl. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one there on that one. I think that could be a high-scoring contest. Over-under's 59.5. 2 solid to pretty solid quarterbacks in Garrett Nussmeier and Sawyer Robertson. 2 to not very good defenses. I could see myself playing that over. I could see myself playing that over right now. Lean to Baylor, actually, at the plus 1.5. Baylor's been on a tear. Dave Aranda saved the hell out of his job this year. I'll tell you what. I mean, he looked like he was dead in the water to start off, and boy, oh boy, 8-4, one of the hottest teams in college football that no one talks about. They're a really good team. They're a really solid team right now. And then we've got the playoff matchups with all the first-round buys, yada, yada, yada. Duke is playing Ole Miss in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. I can assure you no players are probably going to be playing in that game. I don't even know if I'm going to bet on the spread in that one. That's going to be a sad, sad matchup after New Year's. Outside of that, Minnesota's playing Virginia Tech in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Someone's going to get a Mayo bath in that one. That's going to be fun. And then just because it's another fun name, we got North Texas versus Texas State. Excuse me. In the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. Not first responders, just a singular first responder. And then, yeah, that's what we got as far as that's concerned. I do want to broach on this topic. I'll just hit on it briefly because I already just breezed past it, and my brain is just a jumbled mess right now. We're losing Michael Van Buren, but looks like we got the inside track to get Sam Darnold, that being we being Mississippi State, try to keep up. Got the inside track for Jackson Darnold. Jackson Arnold, not Jackson Darnold. Weird amalgamation there, but I digress. Looks like we have the inside track for him. Got a couple solid incoming defensive transfers that we've gotten already committed. And we got a kid coming in by the name of Camario Taylor. He local product in Mississippi. Played in kind of a clunky offense in high school. Didn't really accentuate the best of his talents. Boy, oh boy, you look at those highlights. I think Mississippi State got ourselves one, man. He's one that might stay around, too, because his father, I can't remember Camario Taylor's father's name. He did play for Mississippi State, was a quarterback, I believe, in the Sylvester Croom era. So, played at Mississippi State, got that pedigree. So there's a good chance that we keep him around for the long term. And Blake Shapen's coming back as well. Think we'll be all right in the quarterback room. Losing Kevin Coleman hurts, but should be all right on receivers with Jeff Lebby in there as the offensive guy. Just wanted to touch on that. I think we got one in Camario Taylor. If he should redshirt next year, barring something just catastrophic going on, should be redshirting next year. You get him a year to develop, and then you start him as a redshirt freshman. Boy, oh boy, I think college football is going to be shocked by that kid. He's going to be real good, I think. I'm not usually effusive about these recruits, but Camario Taylor looks different in these highlights, man. You're playing high-level high school football, too, at least public school high school football in the state of Mississippi, and he played very, very well. Also got a brother that's in the 2026 class, a wide receiver. He's already committed to Mississippi State just because, obviously, wants to play with his brother. Good chance he'll be catching passes from his brother if he ends up cracking the lineup in year one, his true freshman year. Could be something to keep an eye on there. I'm not panicking right now. Recruiting is still looking solid. Locked in a top 25 recruiting class, I believe. It's just a matter of what we're going to do going forward and if we can continue improving. It does suck to be a feeder program for the big programs out there in the Power Four. There's just, there's levels to this. Nothing we can do about it now outside of one of the alumni at Mississippi State getting filthy fucking rich and then donating a bunch of money. Just being the Phil Knight of Mississippi State is what I'm trying to say. We need our Phil Knight. That's the only way that we can get out of this. And I don't know if one's forthcoming. I think me and my insane alumni friend group are going to try our best, but something tells me we're going to fall a little bit short of the billion with a B number there. So, yeah, there's that. Okay, anyways, I've just gone on entirely too long on this. Let's wrap this thing up with some picks. Don't know why it's that zoomed in, but I don't feel like changing it. I don't feel like figuring that out. Whatever. So, already got the Lions minus 1.5, but that was moved to 2.5, so you had to get on that one early. Steelers plus 5.5. You can still get that at the Eagles. Feel very good about that game. 3 new ones to add, all in the NFL, obviously. So we're taking the Bengals minus 5 at the Titans. Trends were good on this one. Titans not very good. Have not covered a single spread at home this year. Bengals only win on the road, essentially. So I feel good about that one. We're locking that one in at minus 5. Broncos minus 3.5. Trends didn't really agree with the next two ones that I'm gonna go with, but Broncos minus 3.5 versus the Colts. Broncos do cover the spread pretty proficiently at home. They're a solid football team. I don't believe in Anthony Richardson at this point. I think I'm pretty comfortable saying that. And I just think that that Broncos defense didn't look great last week. Obviously, similar type of gunslinger quarterback here in Anthony Richardson they're facing off against, so something you got to worry about. But ultimately, I think the Broncos take care of business and they cover that 3.5 spread. And then the last one here, only got 5 for you this week, but this is our last one. Ravens-Giants over 42.5. And this is not based on the Giants at all. This is just based on the fact that the Ravens will most likely score 40 by themselves. And all you got to do is get a field goal. All you got to do is get a field goal. And hey, if you score even more than that, you're going to cover that with ease. But 42.5, that's a juicy over for a team like the Ravens playing in this game. So give me that over. Over 42.5. They're a 16.5 point favorite right now. I cannot, in good conscience, bet the Ravens on that line, but 42.5 on the over-under, give it to me. We're locking that in. So that's your picks. Lions minus 1.5, Steelers plus 5.5, Bengals minus 5, Broncos minus 3.5, and Ravens Giants over 42.5. With that said, though, let's wrap this thing up, baby. This has been Unqualified Analysis. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you enjoyed, subscribe, rate 5 stars, share it with every friend and every acquaintance you have known in your entire life. I'm talking people you ain't talked to since you were like 5 years old. Go on Google. Find them on Facebook. Send them a Facebook message. Be like, hey, listen to this damn podcast, or I'll find you. Hey, threats work. I'm okay. I'm okay with threatening some people to listen to the show. Just make them empty threats. Don't make it too menacing. But just a little joking like, hey man, you better listen to this damn podcast. Anywho's, I'm just gonna stop talking there before I get myself in trouble. Jokes, all jokes on that front. But yeah, outside of that, follow me on the socials at CalebVUA. Shoot me a DM there, or go to the email unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. Both those down in the description if you want to get in contact with me. Outside of that, thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got no clue what I'm talking about. One thing I learned this week, though, when Georgia beat Texas to win the SEC championship on Saturday, they became the first team to beat Texas twice in a season since 1909. Shout out SportsCenter great Kevin Nagandi for that wild fact. I did not know that at all. 115 years since a team has beaten Texas twice in one season. Insanity. Absolute insanity. Okay, I am going to go edit this thing and try to get this up. You guys be good. Have a good weekend. We will be back on Tuesday to recap the wild week that was in the NFL. Until then, I will see y'all later. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the football. Deuces, my friends.